All right. What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Yama channel. My name is Thinker St. James. This is last week's fight, and I am joined by my good friend, the Ohio player, the man who subscribed to Alice Ardeline's OnlyFans for research purposes. Chase Parton, how you doing, brother?
It's another good day. Another great, what is it, Monday, of course.
It's
and,
Monday.
he just came off a great Saturday. And, you know what? Actually, let me stop myself. Great is very, very. I liked it. I thought it was a good event. Dana was very harsh on it at the end, and we'll probably talk about that. But, I dug it.
Yeah, there were some interesting things that happened after the event. I thought it was okay. I mean, it was kind of, up and down like they always are, but I would say the ups were pretty good on this one. And I guess just before we start off on the actual fights themselves, shout out to that UK crowd for bringing the energy in the middle of the night / morning for them. By the time that the main event was starting, I believe that they said it was around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. So somewhere in that range. And I mean, those guys were on their feet. They were active. They were loud. That arena was fucking packed. So, shout out to those guys for making it happen, because it was definitely a solid crowd as far as UFC crowds go.
Yeah, I want to make a note on that because, all the Discord, our UK guys, every fight that was coming up, every time it was an Irish person, they were not giving them the slack, man. They were not representing like they should have, but the crowd inside, they were there for them.
Absolutely, yeah. The proximity, I guess, in the region lent itself to the support, which was nice inside the arena. Online, everybody's gonna be a little bit more critical, I suppose. But
right.
If you are new to this stream, we are going to be breaking down every single fight on this card. If you have any comments that are not related to those fights, leave them in the chat. We will get to them after the discussions on the fights. In the meantime, let's get started with the first fight on the card, which was Shauna Bannon versus Alice Ardelian, I guess is how you say her name, not Ardeline, as I thought it was. But Ardelian, it doesn't matter too much to remember necessarily, but what do you think of the fight?
First off, great underdog pick to start off the night. She got robbed low-key. I'm not even going to buy it. Look. This is mixed martial arts, not a kickboxing match. Shannon, okay, looked cool. The kicks were cool, very flexible. I give her that one. But, bro, Alice was giving her the business for a minute, man. She was doing good.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. One other thing I forgot to mention here about just the card overall, and it's definitely pertinent to this fight. Are fence grabs just legal in Manchester? Is that Is that how we're rocking over there in Manchester, England? Because there were so
The
many
champ
motherfucking fence grabs.
the champ set the tone for that shit, and they're letting it fucking trickle down the card. Like, it is crazy. Every fight, I'm sitting here and I'm going fence guard. Like, oh my, like, look at it. It's right there. It's clear. Like, a lot of them, some people were trying to do the sneaky one where the ref wouldn't see, but no, everybody was doing blatant freaking grabs. Like,
Yeah, it was grab city when it came to fence grabs for sure. A couple other fouls here and there, and some a little bit more major than others, but not a single point taken. I thought that was kind of interesting considering the nature of some of these fouls, which we will get into. But starting this one off, yeah, Shauna Bannon getting away with a egregious fence grab. I think Arteling got one and just got a little warning for it. And then Bannon had that really heavy one before she got taken down. She still ended up getting taken down, so I guess it's sort of negated. But still, I mean, just all up on the fence. That it was. And this, yeah, like you said, this ran through several of these fights. So, yeah, just a quick note on that. Other than that, though, yeah, Ardal Yan controlled well, but she didn't really do much with it. She was striking okay until Bannon got her striking going later in the fight. Early on, I noticed that Bannon was throwing a lot of like checks. You know what I mean? Like it was really just stuff to which like things that would have been like to gauge distance if she had been using them that way, but it wasn't looking like she was. She was just kind of throwing things out just to throw them out, no real intention on them. And then Arlene would, clinch up, and then the ground game was somewhat strong, even though it was mostly just control. It wasn't moving towards any kind of submission position. So decent with her pressure in that regard, but not enough to continue on towards an actual finish or swing the fight in her favor, even.
yeah, I maybe will agree, but I also think that could have been a good underdog pick, man. But they really did. The judging set the tone for this one. That wrestling just didn't fucking matter. Um,
Yeah.
so well,
Yeah, yeah, fair. And honestly, I think that I watched it back. I did a little bit of research for this stream, and I do think that it was an okay decision. But in the watch along, I said that I thought it might have been a robbery, and I'm calling these now. I've decided that when they are not full on robberies, these are now petty thefts. So
hey,
yeah.
okay,
So yeah, keep that in mind. I would say that this is somewhere in the petty theft region, perhaps. But I did think that it was appropriate after the rewatch. Anyway, though, yeah, Bannon, she had some decent kicks when they actually connected. Again, later on in the fight. Early on, I think that is my overall note for her is that her striking's not terrible. It's just she needs to put a little bit more power on earlier. I generally say a lot of the times that like people need to pace a little bit better. She was overpacing herself.
yeah, I she did. It's hard to say because again, in the moment, I'm sitting here saying Alice probably could have won that one, and they're gonna just go ahead and give it to the hometown person, but I don't know. Maybe you're right. If you were watching the rewatch and you agree that Shannon was getting it going later on in the fight, then sure. But like the striking numbers, I don't know, man. If you break it down, the significant strikes, head, body, legs, like they're all pretty like close relatively. And then where they
Mm.
get these total strikes, 151 to 80, like she wasn't out here popping her head off with the jab, in my
No,
opinion. Like,
definitely not. Yeah, I mean, overall, it wasn't exactly like the greatest fight on the planet. I mean, it
yeah,
was kind of a little bit sloppy in the first two, a little bit better in the third, I think. Yeah, maybe the rewatch could be inaccurate as well. I mean, I'm just going off of my gut when I based on what I saw, but it was mostly because of the lack of doing anything with the control. That was the main thing because Ardell Yan would get the control and really just it was almost lay and pray type situations a couple of times there. Just on top of her, holding her down, not really going for an advance, and to me that's not effective. But I could see that not depending on how you judge, that's really kind of your discretion. Yeah, so I don't know. That's the assessment there. One thing to note as well is that Ardelian did make it to the second round with Zhang Weilei. I didn't realize that she actually had gotten out of the first. So I guess that's kind of a a note in her favor. Didn't show necessarily in this fight.
Yeah, I think last I'll note is this was a good opener. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't terrible, but it was fun to
Nah, yeah.
watch. Compared to the one that happened right after, it is kind of confused. Like, dang, they could have maybe opened with Mick Parkin. That could if they were going to put him on the prelims, and you maybe had this matchup in mind. That's they could have opened with it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so I guess let's move on to that one. This is Mick Parkin versus Lucas Bresky, Dreski, I think is how they were pronouncing it. I guess the BR is a D sound in the Polish. I that's what I'm.
They got a lot of different sounds over there, man.
Dude, these pronunciations are killing me. But yeah, Mick Parkin getting a very nice knockout. Really just staying calm, weathering a couple of shots, and getting the job done. My major note was that Parkin is touchable. This wasn't like a flawless victory on his part. He got touched a couple of times. That didn't really phase him necessarily. It wasn't anything that was so insurmountable for him. Obviously, he got the job done in the end. Stayed calm and collected, but I could see some holes in the game from somebody who might have put a little bit more power on, might have been a little bit able to take a punch a little better.
He's just not okay. This guy Dretsky, he got knocked out by Waldo Cortez Acosta a couple fights ago, maybe even his last fight, and that put a stain on him. For me, like when he came into this fight, I knew like he might get knocked again. But Mick Parkin, I didn't expect to come out with such intensity in the first. So shout out to him because he was about to fall off the map for me. Like he was already not great for me, but since he got the knockout on a dude who's kind of chinny, he's like maybe above average in my book right now. Like he's all right.
Yeah, and I mean that was going to be the question is, what is the trajectory for him after this? Because we had talked about on the last stream that he's coming off of a somewhat controversial decision win over Mo Usman, who, if you saw his last fight, looked absolutely atrocious. That win ages like milk. So,
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see what they give him and how he fares going forward because heavyweight is such a mess right now. There's potential for him to continue racking up a couple wins. I don't think that he's necessarily going to get a favorable matchup in his next fight. I mean, I don't think that they're scheduled to be back in England for a little bit of time here now. So, he's going to be thrown in with the rest of the Wolves here. I don't know what the what the next couple of fights are going to look like for him. I mean, this is kind of a downer. We're trying to not be so down on the guy. He just got a great knockout win, but I did see a couple of little holes there. As we said, decision over Usman doesn't age very well. What what does he look like going forward with some of these guys who are going to be a little bit hungrier and more durable?
Yeah, I mean, you look towards the top of the division, and obviously there's not fucking many, but like, you might as well throw him against Derek Lewis now. Why not?
That's actually not a bad point. Have him versus Waldo. I mean, he's starting to.
Yeah, I actually think Waldo has a fight coming up. I don't
Oh, does he?
remember
Is he
who.
booked? I didn't.
I
Yeah, I didn't.
I wanna say yes,
All
but
right.
Mick Parkin, that was gonna be my next point. Is like somebody like Waldo, like they're very similar. Like they're not great at what they do. They can maybe knock out a really sloppy and not great, defensive heavyweight. But other than that, they're not gonna like show out. And Waldo at least, he will at least like, wrestle fuck somebody, I guess. I mean, he did it once. So he'll at least do that. Mick, I see in some clips he's got some subs, but I'm yet to see him kind of do some grappling kind of deal. That's good.
Yeah, still undefeated, so that's obviously working in his favor. I say fuck it. I say do UK versus UK. Shoot him straight up to Tom Aspinall. See how he does.
Well, like I didn't want to jump to that, and make the whole discussion because like you look towards the top of the division, like Tom Aspinall, like Mick Parkin would get starched like really bad. Like we'll get into that later, but
Sure.
you got to look at other people in the division. I think Derek Lewis again probably maybe dogs this dude, not dogs him, but maybe chins him. I don't know.
Well,
Undefeated people are.
yeah, and that's really going to be the test now is to see what he can do against somebody who is much more durable. Who's not going to go down as easily to a shot like the one that wobbled Dresky. I
Yeah.
think that there's plenty of guys who can take a shot better. Because it really, I mean, as I said, Dresky got a couple of shots in there, but it wasn't like a crazy sequence that finished him. I mean, it was accurate for sure. It was well on point, and I noted that as well that Parkin's accuracy was pretty decent there to land that. I think that there are going to be people who can withstand that type of aggression. So we'll have to see what he ends up with next. But good for him. Yeah, 10-0 right now. Can't knock that.
Yeah, I was expecting him to get a robbery decision, but hey, he proved me wrong.
There you go. Yeah, good win for him. Living up to that minus 650. Jesus Christ, these favorites on this card. Somebody made out like a goddamn bandit on the underdog picks on this one for sure.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Sam Patterson versus Kiefer Crosby. What'd you think about this dealie?
Honestly, now that I look at it, I know I won money on Patterson, but I can't really remember this fight. It was kind of quick. Well, yeah, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty much 100% Patterson. It was the Patterson show. The one thing that I had in my notes for this one, aside from the fact that he just was doing everything right and it worked out in his favor, was that he had the submission. He got the head and arm. He had the submission and then abandoned it and then immediately returned to it, which I thought was interesting. On the watch along. I was like, he had really nice position to begin with. He gave it up. He basically swung himself over Crosby's body and then re-swang himself back. And it was
Yeah.
like, I guess just to get more leverage, to get a slightly better angle on it, even though he already seemed to have a pretty good angle on it. I don't necessarily know what the rationale was, but whatever it was worked out for him. So, amen.
Yeah, this one and the next one, they are some finishes, but geez, I don't know what I was doing during these fights. I can tell you I was watching because I had them both by finish, but the main dude that I remember is in the next fight. So yeah, this one, honestly, again, I didn't know I remember when I said it. It's just a favorable matchup for the hometown. So that he went out there and got it done quick.
Yeah, I mean, not too much else to say about it, honestly. It was the Sam Patterson show, and nice sub early on, round one, can't beat it. But moving on, okay, so if you didn't necessarily remember all of that one, it's unfortunate that you don't remember all of this one because this one was this was actually one of the more entertaining fights on the card, in my opinion. I mean, not necessarily from a super technical standpoint, although Bukowskis did look pretty technically solid, but Pragnio is a fucking wild man, dude. This guy throws like he puts 125% on every shot that he throws. There was one time that he threw with so much power, he missed the shot. He ended up spinning himself around and almost knocked himself over. So this dude was
Yeah,
loading up every shot.
that was what I was gonna say. Is the only memorable thing from these last two finishes is Pragnio. He is. I can see why this was close to a coin flip rather than being a very favorable matchup. I mean, shout out to Bukowskis. He got it done and he got a good finish, even though he was about to lose that one. He was getting outworked. Is really not. He wasn't getting outclassed by any means, I guess, but outworked for sure because Pragnio was trying to lay it out there and he just
Well,
kind of
yeah,
gassed out a little too
so
early.
what I'll say to that is that I think that Bukowskis was more technically sound, so he was doing less but getting more out of the lack of, you know what I mean, like he,
Right.
he had to put in less work to get more favorable outcomes from it because he was more technically sound. He did get caught. that second round was pretty wild. He had rocked Prachnio and then got rocked himself with a little a sneaky question mark kick at close range, which was interesting because Prachnio was throwing a couple of kicks
Mhm.
that were again wild. I mean, he's loading up on every single thing, telegraphing it like a motherfucker from distance. So a lot of them were not hitting the mark, but that inside close range one did, and got Bukauskas somewhat stumbly for a second there. Definitely a an interesting second round for that reason, but he stayed with it. And the other big note is that because Fracknio, like you said, outworking him, perhaps, but for diminishing returns because he looked tired about 10 seconds into this fight. Like it's amazing to me that he fights with that
I
style when he does, looks that way.
I was gonna say he's just got to be one of those people who just fight and look tired, like Pantosha and fucking anybody else you can think of. Like he
Yeah,
just
we
looked
were talking about
exhausted,
that.
but he was there up until he wasn't. That's just really how it goes.
Well, and the unfortunate end of that was that by the time that Bukauskas got the head and arm, I think that regardless of whether it's just visual or not earlier on, I think that it definitely was by the time that head and arm was sunk in because the head and arm that Bukauskas had, he was straight up the middle basically. He wasn't like off to the side with like a great angular position to get it from a technical aspect. That's what I said on the watch along. I was actually it's kind of funny. I recommend going back to watch the VOD for this moment alone where I say I'm like he doesn't have the angle for it. If Prachnio taps, it's going to be because he's tired, and he literally tapped right after I said that.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, he did tap because he was tired. Yeah, submission by way of tiredness, but a submission nonetheless. A nice technical performance for Bukauskas, actually, though. I give it up to him. He was one that was getting a little bit of heat early on when this fight was announced, just because he's a dude who's not been super great. He's not a guy who's really setting the world on fire. They were saying that Prachnio was like you're saying, a kind of a coin flip because they both are not really high level guys necessarily. But I think that this one showed that Bukauskas has some technical prowess. So I liked this performance from him and a nice win on top of it, a nice submission on top of it.
Last thing, I once we noticed that these were light heavyweights, this got a lot more interesting. I thought Bukowskis was pretty solid. I think he might be able to do something if he keeps up. Obviously you got to have a little more volume, like 56, and you got 120 on good efficiency too. 120 for 200. Like you got to be careful, brother. So
Yeah.
just do a little better, and I think you got some good things in the future at that division.
It's true. I mean, he's one of those guys that if he continues to make improvements fight over fight, then there's potential for him to, to move up and continue doing good things. He does need to continue showing that improvement, which we'll get to a fight a little bit later on with Bruna Brazil. That's the exact note that we had said about her last week. Saying that hey, she's a fighting nerd. She with a camp like that, she should be making improvements fight over fight. She looked amazing in her fight. That's what you want to see out of someone like Bukowski. Continue to do the work, continue to get better, and there's a future for you.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, moving on to Oban Elliott versus Preston Parsons. Now, this fight, for me, I have to note, this was about the time that we found out that we had been indefinitely suspended from Twitch during the watch along. That was a crazy situation on the channel side of things. To this day, we do not know what happened there. It was random as fuck. We literally got banned in the middle of a stream, appealed it. We just got back the other day, yesterday, that is, that we won our appeal. Apparently, they said something along the lines of, we fucked up, sorry. So, no fucking clue why the entire internet seems to want to, prey on our demise here. But we got it back. Shout out to everybody watching on Twitch. If you're out there, we appreciate you. And I know a lot of the dudes who are on the watch along, Deadly Pube and Jack Director, are very happy that we got that back. So yeah, shout out to Toby and Jack. But anyway, I say all of that to say that during this fight, I did rewatch it. It wasn't necessarily the worst fight to have a distraction. It was very wrestle heavy and not much towards forward motion in terms of finishes. But I was a little bit distracted during the watch along. So anyway, what did you think of this fight?
I was really hoping that Oban Elliott was gonna come out and make people remember why he's the Welsh gangster kind of deal. Put on a good performance that we're gonna remember. Maybe even get a finish. That's what I was hoping for. I was like, maybe he will come out here and get like a first round knockout or something. He's done some shit like that before. And like, are you like, is he a wrestler now? Like, brother, like I
Well,
thought the
has he
Welsh
done that
gangster
before
was
though? I mean, is does he have
is it facts? Let's find out. I know he's knocked somebody out. Come on now. This has got to be facts. Holy gosh. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Because
And
I
it's
was gonna
been
say
he's done it in the first round, but in Cage Warriors, okay. But yeah, he gets
yeah, and I mean
decisions so many times.
this is
This was
the
ancient.
yeah, and this is the dude that we were talking about, coming off of the Contender Series, saying that he's, going to be the best in the world and all this after a performance that was barely scratching by. I was a little bit surprised he even got a contract after his Contender Series win. Yeah,
Because he's the Wales. That's
yeah,
literally it.
fair. I mean, there we say all the time about the factors in this sport. Actually, the next fight we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. Um, but yeah, what I have in the notes is that he's certainly a fine wrestle fucker. I mean, that's clear. He has decent hands when he lets him go. But he was just putting on so much pressure in the wrestling and grappling areas that he didn't really let them go very much. Really, the only thing I have for Parsons is that he got a decent elbow inside in close range because of how much of the wrestle fucking was going on. I think that he might have wanted to utilize that a little bit more. Anytime that he had a little bit of space to exploit, he probably should have been using it more based on what had ended up happening. But yeah, I mean, really not too much to say about this. Oban Elliott does not inspire a great amount of confidence, to be perfectly honest. I was, a performance like that, did enough to get the job done. Not much else, and Parsons also kind of lost a little bit of stock as well with not being able to get out of that situation at any time. Basically, I mean, maybe once or twice, but not enough to swing.
If there are people out there, if Wales, if the Society of Wales, right? If they believe Oban Elliott is like the next guy or something, if they have extreme faith in him, I hate to break it to them or whoever's a strong believer that he's eventually going to lose, and it's probably going to be not close because he's only good at skating by. That's all his wins are. I know unanimous decision here, but like, brother, this was not a good fucking fight. Like, Dana made a point that 7 unanimous decisions in a row. This was
Yeah,
one that I can tell you was not fucking unanimous and not a great one. But the other ones, I will make a point. It did not feel like there was 7 unanimous decisions in a row. Like it was a pretty close matchup for a couple of them, and they were pretty fun. It didn't feel like boring fucking slog.
yeah. I would say that that's accurate. Yeah, I mean, if you're from Wales and you're looking for somebody to put your stock into, I'd say keep it in Jack Shore. I think that last fight was a little bit of a. I mean, it was such a weird situation with the leg injury, the TKO due to leg cut. I mean, that's
Poke.
a odd to say the least. Jack Shore is on a little bit of a skid now. I mean, that one aside, he was already skidding a little bit, but I still got some faith in Jack Shore. So I don't think that he's one to count out yet. And I would say that between the two of them, if those are your two big guys from Wales right now, I think that they're the only two that I can really think of off the top of my head that are putting on for Wales at the moment. I would stick with Jack Shore over Oban Elliott. This performance was not screaming. This is your next guy.
It's just very telling why he's the underdog because he maybe didn't win necessarily, I guess, but I mean he did in the scoreboard, I guess. But like looking at the numbers here, brother.
Yeah, less of a win and more of a not lose.
Yeah, so I mean if he's the underdog again, very reasonably so, not a bad one to throw money on because he does somehow get the win. I mean hey, score speaks for itself. Unanimous decision. That's what it's going to go down in the record book. So he gets the wins. That's all I got to say, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess that's about all you got to say on that fight in general. So let's move on to this one.
The fun time
Yeah.
for what it was at the beginning.
On the other hand, if there was not a lot to say about the last fight, there is a ton to say about this one. Chase, in my notes, I usually have maybe like 2, 3 points, written down, just little tidbits here and there. This fight, I have 7 notes for. So why don't you go ahead and start us off, and I'll run through. What do you think of this? I mean, or not even just this fight, but the situation in general.
To start, they want to be enemies, rivals, biggest foes ever. And I
Right.
do want to make the point that I thought Manel was the main perpetrator of this. It
I
is
agree.
now come to my attention that Mokaev is probably the sly dog here. And I have a word I'm going to call him later.
Okay.
And it's not even that bad, but I'm going to take it. He better take it to heart. So Mokaev, you are the one that's sucker punching people trying to make amends, and then you want to go on Twitter say like, oh, I had to get my get backs back in blood type stuff. Like, brother, you are a professional. Like, you need to not do that. If he's swipes you or whatever before, it's in the past, you got to move on. Get it back in the cage, because what you did is not do anything in the fucking cage, brother. You
Bro.
want to I had this thought. I said, what if the fight never starts? What if they just can't clear the security? Like, what if they're just like, they just can't get the fight, them behind the lines or whatever Mike Beltran does his thing. And we almost had that moment because they were not letting them clear. And they did all that shit, made a big commotion, ruining promotion. I know the fans are probably loving that shit, but like, he's stopping the flow of the game by doing this stuff. Both of them are. And then to come out and fight like a fucking twerp, like a little fucking punk. Like, I just can't imagine like having all this animosity built up for somebody, and then you come in pulling his pants down. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
you
So
don't want to punch him. I give him credit. He did stand, but he did not do a goddamn thing. Like, this was such a fucking disaster.
yeah, so just to recap for anybody who missed the earlier streams, these guys had fought outside of the cage at least 3 times, more like 4 times. There was one at the PI, there was one at the hotel, there was one at the weigh-ins, and then there was one before the fight even started inside of the cage. So these guys have been going back and forth, like Jay said. They obviously wanted to make this out to be a huge rivalry. Seemed like there was legitimate bad blood there. Only for both of them to come out and essentially put on a little bit of a snoozer. I mean, at least in the first round. Second round turns out to be this fucking wild ride. I mean, for 5 minutes of time, I can't fathom how all of these things happen. So basically, in the second round, there was Manel breaking his toe. That was, I mean, that's unconfirmed, but it did look like he was, babying it a little bit after whatever happened to it. Big toe or second toe there looked like something was off on that foot. That was when he, put his hand to the ground, trying to adjust it. got a great meme out of that one. Shout out to the homie Andy for that, fucking making my day with that one. So that happens, right? Then after that, Mokaev literally pantses him. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that. Had his pants down. It was funny because the primary camera angle did not show that, it was from the front, so you didn't really see what was going on behind, but you just hear Mike Beltran yelling. When they showed the replay, he had this man's whole ass out in front of Manchester. I was like, God damn, dude. It wasn't like a finger got hooked accidentally. It was literally the ripping down of the pants to the point where this man's ass was out for the entire world to see. So there was that. Then after that, this one doesn't get brought up very much, but he also got away with a sneaky little eye poke that Beltran saw, said something about, and then didn't stop time for it. Beltran was a little bit of the problem in some of these fights. He was giving a lot of warnings and not taking points and not stopping action when it probably would have been appropriate. I'm not here to say that I want fights stopped in mid-action. I want the fights to go on as like everybody else does. But if these rule breaks are happening, there comes a time where you have to put your foot down, because he did, he took Mokaev off to the side, gave him this really stern fatherly, talking to over there, really laying the words on him thick. But it's like, bro, that's all just words. I mean, like, at some point, I mean, the pantsing, I would have thought, I actually do agree with Kopp. I saw his statement after the fight saying the pantsing probably should have been a point deduction. I would agree. I mean, you can't be that blatant with it and not. I mean, that's beyond the pale to me.
Yeah, and it was actually really funny because the whole situation, just to touch back on it, the way that I saw it is something's happening. Manel's screaming, right? Like just his lungs out, and Mike Beltran's not doing anything yet. And then he stops it. And then we see like his pants are falling down. Mike Beltran's like, fix your pants. And we're like, what the fuck are you talking about? So then we see the fucking replay, and dog is like bro, he like ripped his fucking like jock strap or something. Like he ripped something off of his shorts from how hard he was pulling him down. And
Facts.
Mike was
Yeah.
really about to let it slide too. That's the crazy part. If his ass wouldn't have been out, like that would have been a move that would have been completely legal. And we saw a lot of crazy stuff, man. And
Yeah.
just Mike, the officiating, you're right. There should have been so many points. There should have been so many hard warnings right off rip when the second fight started. After we saw, eye pokes and pantsing and fence grabs, like there's got to be like, okay, from here on out, if you do a fence grab, you're getting it's bad. Like so this was just a weird fucking fight. And yeah,
Yeah.
we haven't seen. That's another. Go back to the original point. We haven't seen anything about the toe break. We haven't seen like a slow mo of like, oh, did Makayev like stomp on it or like, because I don't even know where it happened. Like, I
Yeah, it
I
was
had no
very
idea.
odd because when he put his hand down, I thought his mouthpiece came out at first. That's what it
That
looked like to me.
exactly.
But then yeah, so they showed the slow mo of the foot. It did look like his big toe was kind of crooked a little bit to the side, but we haven't, like I said, we haven't heard anything specific about what it actually was. And like he was not putting as much weight on it, but he did move pretty decently throughout the rest of that fight. And credit to him for that if it was broken, because obviously that's intense pain that he's having to work through and still moving at a pretty good clip. So good on him for that. In the third round, there was a little bit of decent action, but not much more. Makayev gets a takedown. Cop had him in the guillotine. And it was kind of a little bit of a loose guillotine. It wasn't in great position, but then ended up landing some pretty decent elbows from the bottom position. And then one of these judges has the absolute gall, the absolute audacity to 30-27 in favor of Mokaev. I was like, bro, that was a fight that he arguably lost, in my opinion. I mean, we were saying on the watch along that Manel Kape probably won that fight. I mean, unless you're counting a toe break as damage from Mokaev, which I don't think that anyone really can. Insanity. And then the last note that I have, I guess, that we really need to touch on as well is that after this win and being on a what now is that, a 6 or 7 fight win streak? I think. I mean,
Something like that.
yeah, 13-0 undefeated run.
Undefeated amateur and pro.
Yeah, there you go. So after all of that, Mokaev gets cut from the promotion.
Yeah, and it just shows what type of person he is. Not that he got cut, but so at the beginning of the fight or before the fight started, like clips came out of him saying like, "Oh, somebody they told me like they don't like my wrestle heavy style, and if I don't change something up, like they're gonna cut me or whatever." It's like, dog, it's not your wrestling. It's you're a fucking punk. Like you just keep causing problems. Like, and it it's obviously more than what we've seen. Like Chase Hooper went to Twitter and he responded to a couple people. He was like, "If you get cut and you're really good, it's like because you're a piece of shit to the employees, like to the staff, to the refs, to the judging. Like is because you are just an asshole. Like they don't keep you around if you're gonna cause problems. And if you're gonna cause problems, you got to make fucking money, brother. You can't be on the prelims getting decisions. Like
Yeah. Well, I
you're
guess that's also one minor note to add to all of the craziness of this fight is that the fight itself was moved like 4 times in different positions on the card. So yeah, I guess that might play some part in there as well. I don't know all of the details as far as like what you're saying that Chase Hooper said. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you're making great points there. They're not going to keep you around. If you're going to continue going to decision, be boring, and cause problems. So, yeah, I mean, we had talked on the Friday stream, the Yama Talk Live, about fighters that are on the rise, going to other promotions. I mean, this might not be necessarily the exact example that I had in mind, but perhaps he does go over to PFL and maybe makes a name for himself over there because yeah, he is done with the UFC, and I don't think anybody's too broken up about it.
Yeah, Dana, he's pretty cold for how the fuck he worded that. That was a good line. Like that was actually that was your you better go learn Chinese, buddy. Like that was it right there. It's like PFL is gonna get a great undefeated fighter. Like good luck. Damn,
Yeah, yeah. Have fun in one
damn, brother.
championship.
Like at the press conference, you couldn't even just like let him know on the sideline. Like it's serious. Like you couldn't just like not say anything and like after just not sign his contract. It's like, no, brother, you're out of here. You better go figure out how to become the next somebody somewhere else.
Yeah, that was quite a statement. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, if he ends up over in one or if he ends up over in PFL, there's the potential for him to do something over there. But gone, gone, gone from the UFC. And I did think it was kind of funny upon watching the replay. John Anik after the fight said something along the lines of, "Oh well, he's on this undefeated streak. Perhaps a shot at Pantoja is likely in the future." And I was like, "Nope."
No, what? No, it's because at the beginning of the event they said Manel and Makayev is now a title eliminator. Somebody said it. It was out there.
Who said that? Somebody said that like from the UFC side?
Yes, that's bro. That was the idea going
Really?
up. That's what we were in the something we heard. I don't know who did it. I don't know where it was at. It was not one of us. It was on the fucking thing, or it was on somebody verified. Like it was Manel and Makayev, and that's why it was even weirder being the prelims. We're like, so why would you make a prelim matchup and then now this is a title eliminator like type of thing, and like now Makayev's gone and Manel's the loser. It's
Very weird. Yeah, this whole situation is kind of cursed. I mean, as I had said, I think personally that based on everything that I saw, I probably would have given the fight to Cop. So perhaps maybe his stock doesn't drop too crazily. All things considered, it gets another win. Perhaps there's a conversation to be had, but I just don't know, man. I mean, yeah, like I said, this whole situation is just all kinds of fucked up, and I think that everybody just kind of wants to get it in the rearview mirror now. So, yeah, Makayev is gonna go somewhere else, do his thing there. Cop needs to figure out what how he's gonna make a statement to kind of wash the taste out of everybody's mouth of this fight. So, yeah, I mean that's really just about it. I don't know how this all shakes out aside from Makayev leaving, but this was all kinds of messed up from months ago all the way to now.
I think my last note, I think it's 2 points. Is one, when you ever heard the term, it's like, win the battle, lose the war. Cop, he's got a contract, and he's maybe not the golden boy, but he's at least out here gonna fight for the UFC and probably maybe get a championship shot in his future. And another thing I'll note is the fact that these dudes, okay, when you go into the fight and you got some bad blood after it, go settle your differences, okay? Nothing was settled in this matchup. And then they want to hug and fucking preach to each other after the fucking fight. Like, I'm okay with it normally. I see it all the time. But like y'all didn't do y'all could have hugged before the fight if this was the fucking result. You didn't do anything. Like
Yeah, no, I agree.
I
Yeah,
don't
that
know.
that was a little
It was
strange
annoying.
to. Yeah, yeah, that was strange to see him. To see them kind of hugging it out after all of that. It did kind of look a little weird, and then it was kind of hilarious that of all the fighters that ended up getting interviewed, it was him. I guess based on all of this, perhaps, but yeah, not necessarily the guy who deserved the microphone and then didn't use it
Yeah.
well either.
Yeah. I actually can't even remember his speech. Maybe it was a piss break when I saw that he was about to fucking start. I don't know.
Yeah, nothing really worth noting. Just that he said, give it up to Manel Cop, Manel Cape, I think is how he pronounced it. But yeah, I mean, after that, I think everybody just wanted to move the fuck on from all of this, get this out of the equation, and move on to bigger and better here on this card. Because yeah, it was just madness.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on from that as well, considering how crazy that all was. A much less crazy fight, Jake Hadley versus Kalen Lochran. So Hadley did miss weight. He missed weight by a pound. We had said that we thought that this might be his swan song. Have to say, this was a very solid technical performance for Hadley.
I want to make the note first
Hmm.
that before, nothing, this is not like some bad blood or anything between these two, but before the card, Patty and Kalen were on the bus, chirping to each other. And Patty was not insinuating. He told him like straight up, I have plenty of people in my camp that would beat you at 135. I'm not saying Jake's in his camp because obviously they're not in the fucking thing, but Kalen came out here and fucking punked out. He was supposed to dog Jake Hadley. Short notice, you miss weight. I get now we always sit here in the Discord and we're like, bro, put money on the dude who missed weight. They always win. And you never want to fucking believe it when you have somebody who's supposedly skilled. Kalen, you're ridiculous, dude. You didn't do anything. Like you didn't try very like you shot 1 for 8 on takedown. So okay, you tried. Sorry. But it wasn't very great. Jake Hadley just styled on you.
Yeah, it looked like Lochran really just couldn't figure him out, which is kind of strange considering that Hadley wasn't doing anything that was out of the ordinary or unconventional. I had a lot riding on Kalen Lochran. We had talked about it on the last stream. I was saying how how impressed I was with his first performance, how much of a dog he is. He did go in with the pressure. I mean, I will give him that. He's a guy who will walk hands down, face first, at you like what the fuck are you gonna do? So I mean, I give him credit for having that toughness. But that all being said, he wasn't able to put the pieces together when it mattered, and Hadley did. He did the opposite. He had a very solid technical performance. I really no other way to describe it. Everything that Lochran was trying to do, Hadley had an answer for it. Striking was not super impressive, but overall, I mean, just out volumed him a little bit. It was able to keep control and did a lot of things right. And Kalen just didn't have an answer for it.
Yeah, I agree. It was
Yeah.
honestly, it was just a disappointing performance from Kalen. That's
Yeah,
all.
so the man from Ireland not looking too hot in that one, but yeah, I mean, unfortunate that Hadley did miss weight. I never liked that, but he did get the win, and yeah, I mean the Discord is not wrong. It does seem like every time that there's a weight miss, just throw your money on the dude who misses weight. It's an unfortunate truth. A lot of the time, I mean that's like at least 75% of the time. That is the situation. So
And it sucks because like they're not even like people like, oh, he missed weight, like gosh, but it's somebody like really fucking like, oh, Charles Oliveira missed weight. Like, okay, it's not Charles Oliveira, it's fucking Jake Hadley. Like, come on, brother. Like, I don't know why this is like a curse. Like, oh, the missed weight curse. Fucking like
oh, it's just because they have, they're not having to do the whole cut. They're not having to, go down and emaciate themselves the same way. The rehydration is a lot easier. All the factors that go into it make it, do make it better for them. But yeah, it just sucks. So a kind of a tainted victory in that regard. It was a nice one. Again, solid performance, but you're still, you got the asterisk next to it.
well, and it sucks too because like you're a fighter who's on a 2 fight skid, and now you have this knowledge like, oh, I can miss weight and lose 30% of my purse, but I'm back on track after I do that. Like, who cares if it taints this one win? Then I get back in rhythm, and then I get another fight, and I can make something happen. Then, like,
Right. Yeah. That's exactly it. I mean, it's the cost benefit analysis, right? I mean, what's the short term gain versus the long term gain, and obviously it works out in his favor in the long term. So yeah, forfeit the short profit for a trajectory that could be more favorable to you down the line. Again,
yeah,
shitty. It's really playing the game, and that's why a lot of people had a lot of things to say about Wonder Boy turning down the Michelle Pajeda fight. I mean, I think that more guys need to do it. Bro, I'm not out here trying to say that I want less fights. I'm not out here trying to say that I want people pulling out of fights. But if you see what's happening here, you see what's going on. I mean, it's now telegraphed from a mile away. And if guys are getting away with it, with the only consequence being a 30% purse forfeiture, I mean, it seems like a losing like lose the battle, win the war for those guys. Opposite for the dudes that take the fight.
Yep, I
So.
agree.
All right, let's move on here. Okay, so this fight actually, this was something that put a smile on my face here. This was Molly McCann versus Bruna Brazil. Talk about an improvement on Bruna Brazil. She looked fucking fantastic.
It's the fighting nerds, man.
Fighting
Can't go
nerds.
wrong. You can never go wrong picking a fighting nerd because they just have the sauce right now. Like some I don't some fighters have their prime and like they have a good stretch of fights and they have a good run. Camps have them too, man. It's starting to see like, Eric Nixick, he's out here doing his thing. Fighting nerds doing their thing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. You saw
this
it in
was really much too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I was just going to add that you saw that with Trevor Whitman, for a while there with Rose and Justin Gaethje. So yeah, that's you're absolutely correct. I mean, these teams get on hot streaks, and those fighting nerds are about as hot as it gets right now, unless your name is Krzyzewski. But we'll leave that to the side. Anyway, but yeah, Bruno Brazil just looking really, really technically sound in this fight. The fact that Molly was able to get out of round one after those body shots, I mean, Molly is a tough chick, no doubt about that. But Bruno Brazil putting knees, putting kicks, putting punches to the body. She was throwing the kitchen sink at Molly McCann's body. It was a joy to watch.
Yeah, did you see her get she kneed her and lifted her off the ground from her groin. It was actually very impressive. Molly looked in a lot of pain. It was kind of funny because I was praying on her downfall. I knew it was coming. She was a minus 360. No way was she winning this fight. I hate to break it to everybody. You are to reiterate, she did really good getting out that first round because I was calling it. I was calling it the waving the white flag after them body shots. But
Yeah.
shout out to her.
Yeah, you were absolutely right about the crotch lift. Speaking of crotch areas in general, I guess she got a kick to the cooch there. I don't think that I have seen, or at least it's been a very long time. I can't remember the last time that I've seen it off the top of my head. A female fighter taking the minutes to adjust after getting a crotch shot because she took one straight up straight up the middle.
Yeah, and
split the Red Sea
funny,
there.
we're talking about legal and illegal strikes throughout this card. That was completely legal. She could have kept going. Fuck that. I don't think that was.
No, that's not legal.
I don't. I don't think
crotch-
there's a.
Oh, there's
For
absolutely.
women,
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, yeah. No, same for women, same for men.
Okay,
No.
okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's absolutely illegal. Yeah, no. It was appropriate to take the stop, and the stop was appropriate. But yeah, no. I mean, it was just crazy that the impact was as such because it was a heavy shot straight up the middle. Yeah, that couldn't have been pleasant. Still not 100% certain as to what the protection for women is because it does. I mean, I think that they're wearing some kind of athletic strap. I think it's like the soft cup for women, but either which way you take a hard shot like that. I mean, I don't have one, but I can imagine that a direct bullseye to the puss is not something that is very pleasant for a lady. Um, so yeah, but so yeah, that aside, Molly almost got her back in the third round. I guess that's something that you can say was pretty impressive given the amount of damage she was taking in those first two. So a fighter till the end. I mean, I look, I don't dislike Molly McCann like as a person or anything. I mean, like she seems like an okay chick or whatever. Like I just think that this is yet another prime example of the organization and the fans wanting something that is not there. You know what I mean? Like I think that they wanted their next female UK star, or their first, really. I guess you could say. They wanted to make Molly a star. They wanted her to be, this big prospect out of the UK. It's just not there. It's not there, guys. I mean, like you gotta to realize that Molly's good now after this. She's starting the candy cane going on herself here. It's just not there. I don't think that there's that there. She's tough. She's durable. She's just not that skilled.
I want to make a very true statement, and it's going to sound so mean. It's actually very empowering. Let me actually think about it.
Go ahead.
Molly, when you watch the embedded videos, she
Yeah.
owns her own business. She does all the hard work herself. I think she has a very long career outside of the UFC doing that stuff, but she's on her boss shit, man. She's doing good. I think those things very, very good for her career. Losing to Bruna Brazil, I don't know.
Yeah,
Bruno
not.
Brazil looks good. It might look better in the future, but as of right now, you were a minus 360 in front of the hometown, and you did not do what you were supposed to.
Yeah, and shout out to Bruno Brazil getting the job done out there in enemy territory because every time that Molly did anything beneficial to her in that fight, the crowd was going wild. So, had that not been so one-sided, that could have been very easily another swaying of the judges type situation. But Bruno Brazil did not let that happen. It was a completely dominant performance and a great underdog. So, shout out to everybody that made a little bit of money betting on Bruno Brazil.
Molly has a new nickname in the group. It's now Meatloaf Molly. So
I
wanted
was,
to drop that one.
don't want to tip too much of the hand on the next Yama episode, but there are certainly jokes being formulated where it was putting the Molly in Molly Whoppery and
Yeah,
putting the can in McCann. But I wouldn't
yeah.
necessarily go that far. I don't think that Molly is a can, but yeah, as I said, I think that a lot of people wanted some. They were trying to force blood from a stone when it came to her. I just think that there was never she never had the elements that you needed to be elite, and people just wanted it too badly. So it's kind of she's kind of a victim of her own success in that regard. Perhaps not being thrust into the spotlight so early could have been a little bit more beneficial to her. Maybe take a couple of more lower level fights, get a little bit more going. At the farther down the ladder, not being such a big star so early might have been better for her. But regardless of whatever could or could not have been, we know what we have right now, and it's just not adding up to a top contender here.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, moving on to a fight that was pretty goddamn entertaining, I would say. This is Nathaniel Wood versus Daniel Pineda. Pineda made this fight much more competitive than I think a lot of people were expecting with a minus 450 favorite in Nathaniel Wood.
Well, Henry always preaches. Shout out Henry from the Discord. He was in the chat earlier. He always preaches the Mexican underdogs. And Daniel Pineda, obviously not Mexican, but Henry was preaching. When he starts preaching, you listen, guys. And the underdog, it was close. A unanimous decision is kind of harsh because it was a fun fight. And Nathaniel, shout out to him. He does have pillow hands, but I don't want to say that very harshly because Daniel is kind of a dog.
Well, and if he's got pillow hands, he's throwing those pillows with everything he's got when he's doing it. Because everybody was saying leading up to this one, he's got a real fan friendly style. He's a fighter's fighter, is a way that I heard him described. I'd say that he lived up to that. I mean, not able to pull it out. I think that Wood definitely did get those first two rounds, but that third round was solidly his. So, and all of that with his eye being fucked up by the time that they got to that third round.
Yeah, we were curious if they were gonna stop it, but shout out to them for just
Thank
letting
God,
him
yeah.
power through it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it looked pretty bad. They had the close up there when the doctor was in. His eye was red as fuck, bloodshot to the hilt. So unfortunate that Wood couldn't get the finishes early when he was putting all that work in, because I think that he did finally tire out in that third round. That's why Pineda was able to swing the third. But yeah, I mean, overall, just it was a fun fight, and I think it was appropriate. Yeah, maybe unanimous decision is a little much, perhaps, but I don't think that the second round was close enough to give it to Pineda. So appropriate, perhaps as well. Overall, though, it was entertaining, and yeah, I mean, Pineda, that's a version of a loss that keeps you around. I mean, you fight that strong, you fight with that much tenacity that he did have. He wasn't able to get the win, but he showed why all of those accreditations that people were giving to him were accurate. He is a fun dude to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess that's about it on that one, really. Not too much else to say. Nathaniel Wood, I know. I guess one other thing I will mention is that shout out to Toby again, watcher of the watch alongs. He was saying that Nathaniel Wood is like a an MMA hero in England. He's a mentor to a lot of fighters. He's an ambassador for the sport in the country of England. So it is nice to see him get a victory in his home country after I think he was a little bit spotty himself there, if I'm not mistaken. I think was he coming off of a loss? Yeah, he's coming off of a loss. I mean, it's not too spotty though. I mean, coming off of a loss in Naimov, that's not a terrible loss, and a couple wins on top of that. So either which way, nice to see him get a win in front of the home crowd, being that he is such a proponent of the sport and a good one at that.
Yeah, that sounds pretty dope. I like hearing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, what I had said on the watch along too is that there's a great video on MMA on Point. Shout out to those guys, one of the best channels on YouTube for MMA content. They had him on the channel doing breakdowns and talking about fighting and stuff, and he did seem like a really good guy. So good stuff.
That's dope.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on to the main card here. All right, why don't you go ahead and start this one off because I got some things to say.
I want to start by mentioning that I'm looking at all these striking totals, and wow, did not a lot of things happen on paper? It looks like, because this one I feel like Giga had a lot more strikes landed than 39. Because
Yeah.
at first it was looking really scary. I was looking like, wow, Giga showed up in kind of nice form, and I was talking real shit about him being an old man, and I want to make a funny point. May not be too funny, but he's Georgian, and
Yes.
Ilya and Marab just don't give a fuck. Like I don't know what that's about.
They left him
So
in the dust, huh?
and I actually think they do train together too. So that's the funny part, that like they don't really like do any promoting together. Like there was that one video of Ilya and Marab, but then where the fuck was Giga? He wasn't in that shit. It was just two random other guys. Anyway, Arnold pulled this shit out the fire. It was a really good fight. It wasn't what we needed, but you could tell that Arnold was struggling with what Giga was putting in front of him. And I think this was just a good dog fight for Arnold to win. He's 20-3 for a reason. I think this was great for him to skate by, but I was worried for a minute.
All right. Well, I will counter that. I was not impressed with this fight. I thought that both of them were okay. So let me say it this way: they were both moving a lot. I think that Giga has a movement heavy style because he throws at range so much. I think that Allen needed to negate that by getting in there and making it dirty. He didn't do that very much. I didn't think that he landed so much from range that he was able to really skate by on this one. I thought it was a lot closer than a unanimous decision would lead one to believe. Uh, that being said, Giga didn't necessarily put on so much that it would be undeniable in his favor either. Yeah, this I didn't think that this was an overall great look for either of these guys, just for the fact they were both moving very nicely, but not doing enough with the movement when they had the openings to do so.
I
That's my
agree.
take.
Now that you bring it up, I do remember. So it was kind of early. Giga actually was, that left kick was cooking, and Arnold had to start circling away from it. But then Giga just kept circling away from that. Like they were just moving a lot, like
Yeah, it was the
just
man
doing a
dance.
whole.
Yeah, it was the man dance with an emphasis on the dance. you know?
Yo, literally. And so yeah, unanimous is kind of crazy. I mean, for the better of me, I wanted Arnold to win this one so bad. I needed it because Arnold's such a cool dude. He's so wholesome. And arguably could be 21-2 right now if the knees were legal or whatever. So it's good to see him win, because losing like that and then you come back and you lose again, that's just sad to see. So proud of him for winning.
Oh yeah, and all of what I'm saying has no bearing on the fact that yeah, he's a cool dude. He's engages with the fans. I know that our homie Badger interacts with him quite often. So shout out to him for that. Seems like a great guy. Nothing against him personally. I don't know if I necessarily think that this fight raised his stock in any tremendous way. Um, I,
Just
I
held
re-
his place.
yeah, held his place, and I really think that I would personally at least say that did the same thing for Giga. I mean, I don't think that this loss was necessarily like, a crazy loss to drag him down to the bottom of the ocean or anything. I mean, as we were saying, both of them were moving really nice. I think Giga was I would say that he was keying in to the movement that Allen was doing because he was having to be a little bit more defensive in his evasions and stuff. Allen, I'm talking about. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think that this fight just kind of ends up being kind of a neutral state for both of them. It doesn't really move the needle either way for either of them. At least that's how I see it. I'm sure the organization sees it a different way.
No. I think that's the perfect, because think, the division where it's at is such a mess, because Volk came out and said that he is guaranteed his next fight is going to be a title fight. He said that on the Michael Bisping thing. So Arnold, keeping your place, that's perfect. As long as you don't lose rank, wait for Max and Ilya, wait for Volk and Ilya. You're in a good part of your life where you can just stay here and rack up a couple wins while they hash that shit out. And then maybe you stroll in there, maybe Diego Lopez, maybe that matchup comes or something later. But
yeah, keep your place so that you can lose to the top guys. Is basically what I'm hearing there. Because I mean, I don't think that with a performance like that he's beaten any of those names that you named.
No. I'm not saying wait around till you can fight them and beat them. Either you wait around till they fucking dip out, Max moves up, Volk retires, Ilya hopefully fucking cries himself out of the sport or something. Arnold, he could stay at the top. And like, again, this was a hard matchup for him because it was frustrating him how much Giga was, making it a rangy matchup. But
sure.
Arnold is a dogfight kind of guy. So I think he brings it. Whatever matchup you give to him, he's going to bring his heart into it. And hopefully he can skate by like this.
Right. So I will amend my statement. Wait around until you don't have to fight people that are better than you.
Bingo. Like, look. No, it's funny, but sometimes reality has to set in. And like, Arnold's a true down to earth guy. Like, he's not going to be the GOAT now. Like, at this point, it's just like very unlikely. You can be the middle of the road guy. You can be the good to great guy. Figure out how to, fit in, get in where you fit in, like if it's at the top where you can stay, do that, make a good amount of money, call it a quits. Like, you've made a good career at that point. You don't need to be the champ for people to love you. We already do, Arnold.
Fair, yeah, and like I said earlier, I mean, nothing that I'm saying has any bearing on him as a person. He seems like a great dude, and I wish the best for him. Just would like to see a little bit stronger performances if he's going to stick around in that way that we just described. But either way, a win's a win, and good for him for that, I guess. All right,
I'm going to make the note first. Go ahead.
Please, yeah, go ahead.
So, well, not for this. Well, it is to this one too.
Okay.
It's for every fight, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know who was ticking the strikes for the first fight with Shauna, where she had 150, but I'm seeing Christian Leroy Duncan, Gregory Rodriguez, Arnold Allen. Like, none of these people have even thrown like 90 strikes. Like,
yeah. The significant strike count, like, somebody really needs to investigate this. That might have to be something that gets a future Yama episode if I can find out any information about that. Because these strike counts are wild. Them saying that Leroy Duncan threw and landed 53 total strikes, or even 29 significant strikes. I mean, the amount of clinching that guy was doing, he looked atrocious in this fight. To be perfectly honest, I mean,
well, we can start with that. Yeah, he let me down bad, but. God, you're right, man. RoboCop he's
legit.
Him.
Yeah, he is legit, dude. RoboCop is something else, man. That being said, though, it wasn't a firefight that a lot of people expected, myself included, because of how clinch heavy Duncan was. But RoboCop is powerful, bro. I mean, that's I think that's exactly why Duncan had to do what he had to do. Because I mean, he felt that power early and was like, I ain't trying to fuck around with this.
It's that, and RoboCop had a great game plan because Christian Rodriguez is a guy who he needs to get set and he needs to have his whole rhythm set for him and get into his moves. He just walked right over to him and started bombing him like that. There was one elbow that Leroy landed that it went so clean off RoboCop's chin, and he just did not give a fuck. Like, he just kept walking forward. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, Christian Leroy Duncan, that is. But yeah, Christian Rodriguez was a couple cards ago.
Oh, yeah. Whoops.
No,
Whatever.
you're good. But yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I mean, RoboCop really, he didn't look phased by anything that was happening. I mean, I don't really think that he. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't think that there was anything significant that really rocked him or gave him any pause at all. He was continuing the pace at his pace. He was setting the pace of that fight entirely. Again, that's why all of these things are all leading up to the same conclusion, that being Duncan having to do a very wrestle heavy, very grapple heavy style there, because all he wanted to do was neutralize. I mean, he just wanted to get him up against the fence so that he wasn't taking any more damage, because Rodriguez was just setting the tone and the pace of that fight so nicely. When his shots landed, another guy, we were talking about accuracy a little bit earlier in the card with Mick Parkin. This is another dude whose accuracy is really nice as well. So a couple of those shots, especially early in the fight when when he's fresh, the adrenaline's still there, the power is still 100%. Hasn't no kind of gas issues at all. I mean, the pressure was on from the start with Rodriguez, and he kept it going through a lot of it. That's why Duncan just really had to grab and hold on for dear life.
I want to make a shout out to Henry again, because he made a note that middleweights these days are so much bigger than what they were before. And when you look at Gregory Rodriguez, holy shit, this dude is so massive. Like,
Huge.
How does the weight fit into that? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's true. He is a very big middleweight. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to jump the gun here. I think it might be a little premature to say that he needs to be moving up to some really high level competition. Maybe one more fight could do that for him. But I mean, if he continues on the way that he's going, I mean, now he's, I think, 32, if I'm not mistaken. I think
Yeah,
somewhere.
he looks a lot older than that.
Yeah, he looks 45, but yeah,
Somebody
I
said he
believe
looks like Barack Obama too. I don't know if you see that.
I absolutely, I said that on the watch along. Yeah, he's the Jax Barack. But yeah, so I say that to say, though, if he's 32, the time is now for him to to start really making a run if he's going to. I don't see any reason why it's not in the cards. Now, I will say that because Duncan was putting on so much with the clinch, he does need to work on that a little bit. He can't be neutralized. You get to some of these higher level guys, they're going to clinch, but then they're also going to get the takedown. They're also going to move into a more favorable position, swing around, try to get your back. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done from the clinch that Duncan was not doing that these higher level guys will be able to do. So, I think that there's probably a couple of little holes in the game that Rodriguez is going to need to shore up before he can really start hanging with the big dogs. But I mean, again, I think it's really only one or two fights away from really being that conversation, because he is that dude, bro. I mean, that the power is there, and like you said, huge for middleweight as well. So what's stopping him?
And he can wrestle.
I mean, he can when he gets it off. I think that he needs to be a little bit more proactive in making that happen when he's in situations where he's being controlled. That would be my biggest note. You can't let the control time rack up as far as the on the fence and stuff like that. Now, again, I mean, he did have a huge amount of control time on the ground himself. 8 minutes 20 is a lot, but it's about getting out of situations that you're already in, moving yourself to the next thing when you see them earlier, because people who are not Christian Leroy Duncan are going to be able to do things that are going to give him a little bit more problems.
Yeah, for sure.
So, well, we'll see. Because I like him, man. I think RoboCop is a dude to keep an eye on for sure. And I just want to make one note that we were talking about in the Discord, Bilal saying that he wants to move up. Of course, we'll get to that fight, but so he would be moving up from welterweight to middleweight, right? That would be the move. If a guy like RoboCop is at middleweight and stays there, Bilal is going to look like a dwarf compared to these guys. Yeah. So I just wanted to put that note out there, because that was my note in the Discord as well, was that, if Bilal is already talking about moving up, he's going to be facing a lot of giants in comparison if he's going to be doing that. So anyway,
Yeah,
that's that.
100%.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But that's just a little side note there. All right, moving on. Patty the Baddie versus King Green. Man, oh Patty the Baddie.
I get it now. I'm I'm with it. Like I wasn't after the Tony Ferguson fight, I was skeptical. Like, oh, you can't finish him. But now, okay, he is polarizing. The arena wants to see Patty. He does his little stupid dances. He's funny. And I say that with the point that I want to make. He does have the switch though. When he's ready to go, the fight's on. He is there and he is fighting. He's not doing the funny shit. He's not doing the taunting. He'll laugh at, like if him and Bobby Green were talking and they'll miss each other and they'll laugh at each other, but like he's not joking around. He's there to fight.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So what I want to say about Patty is that I think that he's growing on me a little bit in the sense that after the Jared Gordon incident, he got a lot of hate from the fans. He turned everybody off in a big way. I think that I'd like to compare him to Ian Gary. I think I made that comparison on a previous stream, but I'll make it again here. Um, Unlike Ian Gary, who doubles and triples down on his cringiness and all of the things that make people not like him, I think that Patty is learning from his mistakes a little bit. He seems a lot more humble in more recent interviews. Um, he's starting to grow on me a little bit more because I would class myself as a person who also was turned off by how he handled the Jared Gordon situation. Um, all of that being said, that's all outside the cage shit. Inside the cage, I don't necessarily think that anybody could have predicted that exact finish, but you're not kidding, man. I mean, he goes in there and does what he needs to do. I had predicted that he was going to make it wrestle heavy. I thought he was going to be doing a lot of clinching on the cage. I thought he was going to be doing a lot of neutralization. I mean, when he got into the position that he needed to be in after Bobby sort of not went for a takedown, he kind of ended up in a weird sort like half takedown situation. Like it didn't look like he was really going for it, but he went for it anyway. Like the whole sequence that started that was a little strange from Bobby Green. Regardless, when he saw that opening, that's exactly what you need to do to capitalize on those kinds of things. Regardless of what the setup was, he saw, okay, this is where I am now. This is where I'm going to be. What I always say about setting things up to get to the next step, I think that was a perfect example of doing that to the full effect.
yeah, again, this will be the third time, maybe the final time. Henry, he made a great point. How many times do you see people jump guillotine? How many times do you see them actually, understand that that's not going to finish it? I got to do something else and get it done and then actually do it, not just give a position. Now I'm on the bottom. No, Patty did not settle for that. He threw the triangle up right away and Bobby was toast. I hate to say it, man.
I mean, talk about starching, and at that point, man, good lord. I mean, he had the armbar part of it as well. Did not need it in the slightest, considering how gone Bobby Green was. And was he correct that is the first time that Bobby Green has been submitted in the UFC?
Let's
I believe that's what
double
Patty
check
said.
on that.
Yeah.
That first time. Oof. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is looking like that. Yep.
So, I mean, if that's the truth, then good on him for that. As I said,
Funny
I thought
story.
yeah, sure.
He got submitted to a toe hold in
Oh,
the first
really?
round in 2009.
Was that in the UFC?
No, this was in
That was
fucking
pre UFC. Yeah, okay. That is kind of funny.
brawl in the hall.
Yeah, all right. So fair
Anyway,
enough. But no, I mean, so all that being said, I thought that Patty was going to make it very clinch heavy. I didn't know if he was going to be able to get him down. Again, I think that sadly was slightly low fight IQ for Bobby Green. I mean, if you either go for the takedown or you don't, bro. I mean, like whatever that was, because he just sort of ended up in this like hunched over position and then just dove for it. And Patty was just wise to it from a mile away. I mean, it was almost telegraphed in that regard. It wasn't necessarily a great look for Bobby, but Patty doing everything right when he got that opportunity, man. So yeah, I think that that was a really nice win. And look, it's think what you want to think about Patty Pimblett. He is proving himself time and again. Now beating not only Tony Ferguson, even though he's at the the tail end, regardless, whatever. Getting a win over Bobby Green, that's a big name now.
Two things I want to make a note. Before the fight started, when they showed the little, when they're, they're in the camera room showing them it was like, Patty Pimblett, 11 first round finishes. And I was a hater. And I said, I wonder how long they've been riding that one. Because I've seen him 2 fights now. He ain't getting no first round finish for me.
Right.
Mark, eat my words. Okay, Patty, there's your first round finish. I respect it. And then the other thing is, I don't know if you saw the other video of Bobby Green's statement after the fight. Patty made this dude have a life epiphany because he shaved the flames off of his face.
I did see that. Yeah.
Losing to Patty in that way really is going to have. He might change his name back. He might change it to Robert again. That is crazy to me. Wow.
Yeah, and that's word to Jack Director coming in on Twitch. Thank God. But yeah, he's saying he's not going to call him king. I think that's a lot of people are memeing that, and the memes are certainly flowing. I saw the one of him being photoshopped into a princess dress. He's now being called princess. Oy, not the best look in the world, perhaps. Still not on the hype train. I mean, I don't know how you deny the hype around Patty at this point. I mean, now see, let's look at it in perspective between him and Molly McCann, who he's often linked with. This is a version of hot shotting that seems to be paying off. I mean, this is the exact they were the exact same type of hot shotting for both of them in different obviously different circumstances, one for the women and one for the men here. But while Molly can't get that job done, Patty's doing it right. What are you going to say? It's like you can deny and you can, think that, he'll get starched by this guy, that guy, and the other. But time and time again, win after win. I don't know.
Yeah, I want to say that this one, if I want to give a reasoning and to give some foresight, I want to say this was Bobby not giving Patty the respect that he deserves inside the cage. He shot for a stupid takedown, oh, what's he gonna do? Sub me? Kind of mindset. If Patty's against somebody who respects, who has to take him serious. Okay, if Patty's in a title eliminator matchup or a top 5 matchup, we're gonna have people that understand okay, he's actually decent. We need to take it serious and not shoot for a stupid single leg and let him choke me out or get a first round submission. Let's not grapple the first round. Let's see what he can do in the second and third round after we strike, for a little bit kind of deal. And it's somebody who's not at the tail end of their career again. So,
well, see, and yeah, I was just going to say, I wanted to bridge the gap between, what you're saying and Jack's comment there. I mean, I've been hearing that Bobby Green is on the end of his career for the last 5 years now, but so I guess you can, always fall back on that after he gets a loss like that. Perhaps, I don't necessarily class him in that regard. However, it would be nice to see Patty against, someone who is a little bit more primed, ready. He needs to be put up against somebody who's at the same stage of his career and technically sound like he is.
In typical fashion to what his career trajectory has been. Mm-hmm. They're going to give him Dariush. I guaranteed. Another person at the end of their career, but they're going to be like, well, he is at the top of the division, kind of deal. Patty will smoke him. And then here we go. Now we have a title eliminator matchup for him next. And then I think is where it gets sketchy. But if he gets Beneil, believe you me, he's probably going to win.
Well, I mean, that could be. I'm not saying that that's out of the question. Beneil, recent previous performances aside, is a fantastic wrestler. So at least we'd be seeing some, more ground proficiency out of him. It would be an interesting matchup to see how the scrambles end up going, who can get the better of who on the ground if that's where it goes. I think Patty would have a little bit of a striker's advantage in that regard. Interesting matchup if they do make it. I'm not against it. Look, if that's what they want to do and that's what becomes the next thing, let him prove. Let him continue to prove. Every fight is a fraud check, right?
Yep.
So
I think if we're gonna continue believing that Patty's being hot shotted and that he can only beat old people on the tail end of their career, I was actually thinking Fiziev too. Shout out Jack. That was gonna be next in my mind, but I think that's a matchup that obviously Patty's gonna have a lot of trouble with. And if they want Patty to be close to the belt, Dariush is the one. Even Moicano was thrown out there, and that's a tough one for him. So Dariush is probably the easiest way towards that
He
top
did call
ranking.
out Moicano. I think that that's a good fight if they want to make that one. Yeah, actually, I mean, I think that if we're talking about strictly, more prime, more close as far as stats go, basically, Moicano's probably a more even matchup. But either way, I mean, if this is really at the organization's discretion, like you're saying, if they are hot shotting him and then want Dariush, that's to me completely acceptable because I do think that that's a competitive match. I'm not counting Dariush out. I think a lot of people are already. They're thinking that he's washed at this point. I don't necessarily see that personally. But everything remains to be seen. I like that Fiziev fight if they want to make that. I think it would be a nice win for Fiziev to come back and prove that he still belongs to be in the conversation. He's had a couple of missteps of his own. I'm not against it either way. Look again. The actions are proving it, so you can't deny it. You can say it's favorable matchmaking. It's the wins are conclusive now, at least. I mean, in the last two, the Jared Gordon one aside, count that to a different class, but totally dominant, even if it wasn't a finish over Tony Ferguson, submits Bobby Green in the first round. It's starting to become undeniable.
The thing now is that he's ranked, so he actually can get a lot of different people. It's Paddy Pimblett. He's got a star name to him. Like you can maybe even reach to a little farther than you should have, with him, and we'll get a good matchup with him very soon. But if they throw him against somebody, like 8 or 9, let's see what the rankings are actually.
Can bring up the
Let's actually
rankings.
pull this out.
Take a look at the rankings real quick here.
Wonder if they're updated yet since it's Monday.
Yeah, it might not be just yet.
Nope.
Let's see what we got here.
Nope. But so if Patty's 15,
Right.
I've seen people say RDA, but that doesn't make sense. That's 14. That's not really
Jalen Turner
too
would be
much.
a
Like
great match.
you can reach. What I'm exactly talking about reaching farther because you have star power. Benio is perfect. 15-7, you could take that.
Yeah,
Patty,
absolutely.
easy.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I did say Jalen. I do like that match. That could be pretty competitive. I don't think that they're going to want to go 15-13 necessarily, but he also did say Benoit. That's a little bit more of a jump. That would also be a pretty competitive fight, I think. Strike heavy from Saint Denis. If they are trying to shoot him up a little bit higher than that, it probably would be Dariush or Fiziev. I think that makes sense if they're really trying to make the heavy push. Fuck it, bro. Go straight to Dustin Poirier, motherfucker. Let's go.
Dude,
you really want to get spicy?
Thinking it. No. I was thinking it. That's the point I'm making is like you could realistically, it's not out of the realm to be like, oh, Patty Green, Justin Gaethje, like just randomly now because Patty's ranked. It's not an unranked person too close to the belt. Like if you want a hot shot and you want to give Patty a challenge, Dustin Poirier can come out of retirement. I think that would be a fun fight for him. That makes him a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, he's looking for reasons to stick around. I think that shutting Paddy Pimblett up might be attractive to him. I don't think that they've had any words necessarily, but he's seeing what we're seeing. He sees all of the hype. He sees all of the bullshit surrounding him. It might be worthwhile for him to put a little bit of tape on that mouth.
I'm down for it.
I'm down. So yeah, but I mean, regardless of all that future projection stuff, a good victory for him, in this one, and I don't think that there's really too much that you can say about that. It was solid, and man, it was kind of scary for a minute because Bobby was out for a minute. He was down. He gave the referee the nod. Said I'm okay, but he stayed down. So. Yeah, he was out. He was out for a little minute there. Glad he's okay. God, this guy, just put a final note on this thing. I mean, the amount of damage that Bobby Green has taken in his career after nearly getting annihilated by Jalen Turner due to referee murdering. I mean, Yeah, he's taken a lot of damage over his time, man. He needs to be careful as he gets older. I think that CTE might start creeping up on him.
Well, somebody in the Discord made a good point, and this is probably Tony Ferguson falls into this category too. Is like a submission at this point is probably the safest way out of
For sure.
the fights for you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just don't like him being deprived oxygen to a brain that's already got that much damage on top of
Wolf
it, you know.
West didn't fucking stop it very soon. It took a minute. I was sitting there. I was like, all right, he's out. He's out. He's out. You got to stop it. Like, come on, like get it going. And then like he did the whole like lift it. You know,
And
it
that's
was
a
kind
credit
of
to Patty too that he locked that choke in so tight so quickly that it was like,
yeah.
oh, is he out? Oh, he is out. Holy shit, you know. So I
Mhm.
mean, it was
Yeah.
you know, the ref probably could have stopped it a little bit sooner, but I'm not super mad at it because it was fast. I mean, like once he had it, it was donezo, man.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
all right. Let's move on from that one. A lot of Patty Pimblett talk, but let's talk about Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades. My man, Tom Aspinall, undeniable.
Yeah. It just really sucks. Look, the thing that I think after I watched this, two things came to mind,
Sure.
and I'll say the funny one first. Step the fuck up, Alex. You need to put an end to this. That was the first thing I thought. The second one was I thought it's unfortunate that this actually isn't in the record book a real title run kind of deal.
It's true.
Like, because I don't know how you deny this dude. He really, I will say, Curtis lost his footing, and it was maybe early, in my opinion, because I'm a hater.
Oh yeah.
But but Tom Aspinall is he is the truth right now. You can't deny it. People have their runs. We talked about it with the coaches, with the fighters. People have their runs. Who knows when it'll fall off? But what I'm seeing right now against Sergey and against Curtis, he's doing some shit.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you're exactly right on all fronts. It is very unfortunate that the division is being tied up by what is happening at the top. I've been very vocal about that, how I feel about it. I think that this performance yet again shows that this guy is probably about as good as it gets right now. I don't think that there's much that you know after the whole bullshit with Jones and Stipe and all that gets sorted out. You know, somebody in the watch along was saying they think he's probably going to be on top for a couple of years based on what's going on below him at heavyweight. I don't see that being
Yeah.
out of the question. I mean, he's the most well-rounded heavyweight that we have aside from John Jones right now, and it's just performance after performance that he is racking up these wins in impressive fashion. It's again undeniable. Now, you know, I do agree the stoppage was early. Uh, Curtis was not out in the slightest, really. I mean, he was looking like he was about to start posturing up to try to get himself back up to his feet. It was unfortunate that it got stopped early. All of that being said, it probably would have been prolonging the inevitable the way that Aspinall was laying it on him. And I also, you know, don't want to pat myself on the back too strongly here, but I did say that Curtis needed to get the wrestling going heavier. Jack is saying that he wants to see these guys wrestle. I had said that Curtis needs to get the wrestling off quickly. That is Curtis's biggest problem to me is that he waits. I mean, it's not like he was doing nothing. He you know, he was trying. I mean, he tried to go in. You know, I believe that he had him clinched up for a minute there, if I'm not mistaken. My memory is a little faulty on that, perhaps, but either way, it wasn't anything significant enough to actually swing. You know, the wrestling towards his favor. He doesn't start quick enough against these guys who are killers. These guys are too powerful for you to be standing in front of them in any respect. He did lose his footing, you know, whatever. He gets pounced on. That's all it takes at heavyweight.
So speaking of, that's all it takes at heavyweight. The way that I feel about Tom and Alex right now, they are bringing the vibe that got people hooked on boxing originally. The reason that heavyweight boxing was on top is like these dudes can just come out and it can be as quick as they walked out. Like it's just that what's the word? Unpredictable. Like these dudes really can punch once and end the fight. And Derek Lewis can too, but like these guys are different. Like I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what I had said on the watch along was that I did think that it was a little bit strange that Curtis was even getting this shot based on his, past performances. I mean, a win over Jailton Almeida, impressive or not, is not necessarily a super hot heavy needle mover. But I mean, he's like, Tom Aspinall is clearing out everybody underneath him, really. I mean, what are you going to do? Just keep matching him up with the same guys over and over again, waiting for this bullshit at the top of the division to get sorted out? And forever. I mean, who knows if it ever even is? I saw that. I referenced MMA on Point earlier. I'll do it one more time here. I think that they just released a video saying that it is time to strip John Jones. I mean, I've been saying that because I'm a hater, but I don't think, again, undeniable. I think it's starting to get to the point where how can you stand by and let this dude languish here? I mean, he is running through. Oh, Jesus, my bad. He is running through guys. He is at the top of his game. He is, like, he's so primed to be a dominant champion, and he's just being denied this for a dream that no one even really cares about anymore. How many people out there really give a fuck about this Stipe fight anymore?
Yeah, I agree. It's an interesting time, and it sucks for Tom because I do accept that he is great. Like, I'm watching greatness. It's just unfortunate that all he can be is, an interim champ right now.
Yeah, having to defend the silver belt is just it's unacceptable, man. I mean, there's really not too much else to say about this fight itself. Came out, did his thing in dominant fashion yet again. I don't know what they. I mean, now Dana did say that the winner of this fight will be fighting the winner of Stipe and John. I tend to think that both of them are going to retire after this fight. John Jones might not. I mean, perhaps. I mean, his pride might get the better of him because he is so proud. He's that's his greatest strength and his greatest weakness at the same time. I would suspect. He takes himself very seriously, so there is potential maybe that we get that fight eventually. Tom saying that he wants that heavyweight tournament dealie, I think is a little far-fetched, but if they want to do him versus Alex for the undisputed, I wouldn't be upset with that if Jones does decide to leave. But either which way, I mean, I can't say it enough that we need to get the top of this division sorted the fuck out. I don't care how it happens. I don't care what they decide to do, whether it's the fight, whether it's stripping, whether both of those guys just decide to fuck off, go move to Mars. I don't care what it is. Get that sorted so that we can let this guy shine. You cannot deny that he needs it at this point.
I want to make one final point that was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you listened to Tom Aspinall's post-fight speech. And it went something along the lines of, I'm just a normal guy, something. And I was thinking to myself, like, it would be great if all of this about this normal guy talk was great, but you are a genetic freak, my guy. I'm the normal guy. I'm the 6'4" and can punch a wall down. Like, I'm just saying, it was supposed to hit a little home. It did. Maybe the English people felt it. I didn't. I was like, damn, guy, like, I'm not you. Like, fuck.
Well, yeah, and you also are a super hater, but that's
facts. Like, damn.
But yeah, no, fair. Either way, look, I mean, genetic freak aside, he's endearing to the fans. Seems like a mild-mannered guy overall. Comes off very very humble, somewhat likable to me. I would say. I know that you think he's a little cringy, whatever. I don't mind it. It's not the same type of cringy that bothers me. So, I'm okay with it. And again, all of this is just, it's all noise right now to me, being that he's being roadblocked. He's getting cock blocked on this undisputed. And that's, that to me is the biggest factor out of all of this. It needs to be sorted. And, at that point, after that, then all of the criticisms can come right back on the table. You know what I mean? Like, cause then, you are the champ, you have to move a little bit differently. You have to see who he gets matched up with, what ends up being the next thing down the road. All of that is a conversation that has to happen when that belt is gold and not silver.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the main event of the evening. What a world we live in, Chase Parton. Bilal Muhammad is the champion.
We are in the alternate timeline. We're in the bad one. Global warming's happening, brother. We're cooked, man. Asteroids coming because like I don't get how Leon could perform so fucking bad. Because listen, before this fight, we just came off seeing Islam and Dustin, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, Leon's beating Islam. There ain't no fucking chance Islam's got. He's gonna be too small. He's not gonna be able to take him down. He's not gonna be able to stand with it." It's like, bro, Bilal Muhammad just turned into Muhammad Ali, and then fucking, I guess Habib. Like, it was actually crazy to watch Leon do nothing. It was almost like he was waiting for the speech from the coach. And we were all thinking it too. We're all sitting here like, man, is the coach really going to make the speech again? Should he have to make that speech again for you to actually do something? Like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, Leon.
Yeah. I would say that, you know, Leon's performance is one side of this coin. This was really the other side, just looking fantastic. I watching that fight, Bilal Muhammad really did look topped out. I mean, this he was at the absolute top of his game. His striking was fucking crispy. I mean, like that. I don't think that a lot of people were expecting that for him to be striking as proficiently as he was, and for him to pick him up and drop him on his motherfucking head. Not once, but twice. I mean, I think he got a third pickup. I don't think he actually got the full on slam, but I mean, he was like what I had said in that first round. I was like, I think that Bilal has, a great gas tank to begin with, so it didn't necessarily play as much of a factor. But I was saying that a lesser fighter putting that much energy into those pickups in the first round, both of those, the major ones, were in the first round. So I mean, he put so much energy into that, and to be able to keep that pace up over the course of four more rounds, one of which he dropped. I mean, one of which Leon did get the better of him. I think it's really just a testament. We're talking about how bad Leon looked. I mean, I think we really should be talking about how good Bilal looked.
Yeah, that's just the divisions, not the divisions, excuse me, but the competition in general is stepping up. I mean, we've probably, with Leon specifically, we probably should have seen it coming that he wasn't, all that, because he did lose to Kamara for 24 minutes and 30 seconds. And then Colby, he did nothing against. And, those are the only people that are really relevant in the matter. Nate Diaz probably could have finished him. Maybe it didn't happen, but maybe. And, I don't know, bro. The competition is just stepping up. If Bilal Muhammad can become champ, I guess anybody can right now.
Well, I mean, I think we're really dogging on Bilal and the skills area here. It's what I had said going into this. I think that everybody is letting their dislike of the guy because he is so amazingly dislikable. I don't know if I know a person who goes out of their way to be disliked like Bilal. It's just like everything he does and says is just another reason to hate him. But that all aside, I don't think. I mean, look, I think if you took all of the skills that Bilal has and put them into a different fighter, then he'd be could be a fan favorite. You know what I mean? Like I think if he wasn't so annoying on the microphone outside of the cage, people might really be fucking with him, even if he is a decision merchant. That all adds up to everything that we saw in this fight and the amazing win streak that he was on coming into this fight. All adds up to a champion if you really look at it. I don't think that saying that anybody can be champion because he is necessarily accurate. I think it's really a testament to the skills he has.
That's a good point. I actually want to go back to the where he dropped him on his head, illegal strike.
Yeah. Tough one.
I
thought that.
he went unconscious. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was nasty. I mean, looking at that replay, it was like, good lord, directly on the like just above the forehead, really, is where it looked like he landed, and it looked like his neck impacted so heavily. I thought that he might have permanent damage from that one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Shout out Bilal. That was aura right there. You dropped the champ on their head like that. I'm all for it. I don't care if the UK guys were in the chat mad as hell. Illegal strike. He should be disqualified. Like, nah, man. You drop the champ on their head every time you get a chance. What the fuck?
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of those ones. I mean, it would be kind of tough because it's not like he specifically took him and like pile drived him. You know what I mean? Like he didn't intend for him to to land where he landed. So I don't know if it necessarily, probably might have been a no contest if they had gone that route. But yeah, didn't.
Wouldn't that have been crazy? The first one ended with Bilal fucking eye poke, and then the second one ends with Leon fucking
Yeah.
neck break. Like,
Yeah, God, that would have been crazy. And yeah, shout out to him for being able to withstand that for another 4 rounds because, good Lord, it looked so deadly. I mean, like that, like the way that it impacted. I mean, I really thought that he still might have some permanent damage from that one. The ruptured disc type situation, impacted discs. There's all kinds of stuff when you're talking about the neck and spine that can really be detrimental. But he weathered all that, thankfully, but just wasn't able to do anything else. It was really very one sided, except for that one round.
what do you think about Bilal being on some sort of juice?
I heard the accusation. Now, granted, that was coming from Dylan Dennis, so I'm not putting
It's
any.
not just him, by the way. It's not just
No,
him. It's a lot
know,
of
I know,
people.
no, I know. But I mean, the one that I saw was from him.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
training in Dagestan, I talked about the Dagestan problem on the USADA video that I made. It is something that a lot of people talk about. Bobby Green fought on this card. He's one that had a lot to say about that as well. I mean, look, he didn't pop. I'll believe it when there's some definitive evidence, I guess. I don't know. That's a tough one. That's always a tough one. It's everybody is always out here trying to get a competitive advantage. Um, it very well could be the case. I don't know for sure. I want to believe that it's not true, but honestly, I have to withhold judgment on that one until I see something definitive.
Commentary team made a comment in the fifth about Edwards opening a Bilal that was winning. Yeah, no, dude, the Discord went so nuts over the last 20 seconds of a round that Leon got manhandled for all of it. Like, it was actually
Right.
kind of crazy. They were, bro, he split him open. Okay, it was a good elbow. I actually thought it was more of a bigger shot than it was. It really just kind of grazed him and busted him open. If it would have been a halt, like, bro, if he would have done something with the position and actually tried to finish it, sure, I get the excitement, bro. He wasn't, no urgency from Leon. He wasn't doing anything the entire fight. So the fact that you think he won, okay, he maybe won, what was it, 2 or 3, something like that. But Bilal was on his shit. He did his thing. He did if if Sean can beat Izzy, Bilal can manhandle Leon. I mean, that's just the world we live in now. I don't know.
Yeah. As far as that elbow goes, when it comes to the elbows, and the amount of blood that they can produce, it's more optics a lot of the time than actual damage. The cut was not insignificant. I'm not trying to downplay
Probably
it.
broke his nose.
It could have been. I mean, that as well. Look, it wasn't nothing. I'm not trying to take away from the effectiveness of that strike, but as Chase said, um, it came so late in the round, and it was yet another round that he was getting completely destroyed. I mean, like I mean, not destroyed, but you know what I mean. He was getting dominated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that swung that round. I give Leon. I think that was the third round. I think that was the one that he had the advantage in. I believe it might third or fourth. I think,
You
but
could argue he didn't get any round, honestly, but
nah, I
whatevs.
think that the one that he got was somewhat definitive. But either way, I mean, even if it was straight across the board, I mean, based on all everything else, if you're judging round by round, it should have gone to him. But overall, I could imagine that there, a world where a complete sweep would have been, in the cards. Yeah, I just think that it's too little, too late. Everything that Leon did was too little, too late. That's really the story of the fight. He got a couple of things going in his direction at a couple of times, but it was just not enough over the course of 5 rounds.
When it comes to 5 round fights, and when you're watching it live and you're sitting here like, okay, Bilal won that one. Bilal won that one. And then you come to the third round. You're right, it was a third round. And because you're going into it and you're like, okay, Leon has to win this round. If he doesn't win this round, it's over. Like, you have to go in. Each round is a back against the wall moment. Like, if
Sure.
you lose, it's over. And like, that was the problem with Volk and Islam 1. It's like, it was Volk went in down 2-0, and arguably I think he won the last 3. But like, that's the judging is obviously, you're not going to get what you want out of that if it does go there. And Leon, like, going in down fucking 2, like, it's You
Yeah, and
needed your fucking coach's speech, and I don't get like it was crazy to me. The coach actually said, "Do you want me to call it?" Like Leon, like you're a fucking champion, dog.
ooh,
Like
I didn't catch that. That's crazy.
that was the last speech. Like because he was. It was funny. He was trying not to do the same one. Like, come on, Leon, don't let
Yeah.
him. That, you gotta. Do you want me to call this shit? Like it was kind of a. And Leon said like no, but like bro, you are the
Yeah,
champion.
and the point that I'll make to that is that right that you just took the words out of my mouth. I mean, really, this is the gold is on the line here, man. I mean, you can't get made to look that bad and expect to win off of off of a decision. You have to be more dominant than that and prove that you're the champ. That's why the belt exists, for the best man out of those 5 rounds. And Bilal just was. He was him for those 5 rounds. You can't deny it. So to say undeniability is the theme of this one, and I think it showed there too. And I'm not exactly happy in this new world that we're living in that Bilal is a champion. I saw a comment in one of the discussion groups that I'm in that I thought was pretty interesting, and I don't want to take this into any kind of political realm, but that he was saying that Bilal is Palestinian when he needs to be, and he was saying that that he's trying to garner a little bit of a fan base because Bilal cannot put asses in seats. I mean, take the Palestinian aspect out of it in general to that, I think the bigger point is that second part is the fact that you now have a champion that many, many people do not like. Many, many people think is very boring. What do you do with that, I guess?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens, especially if he moves up. Like what? Like I mean, honestly, I don't see it out of the realm of Bilal to just vacate the shit. He's a weird dude. He can do weird stuff.
If
I don't
he
know.
you want to talk about making yourself hateable, if he fucking does that, I mean, I think that the MMA world will collectively lose their minds. I certainly will. He fucking goes in, just gets the belt, and says, "Oh, I'm off to middleweight."
Hey, that's a big fuck you to Leon. I'll just beat you and just move on.
It's a big fuck you to the entire MMA world, but whatever. I mean, you're not wrong though. That is something that could very well be in the cards because he is just a dude that continuously does the thing that's going to get you to hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's it, really. We'll see what happens with Bilal now as the champion in this multiverse that we're living in. Final thoughts on the card?
I liked it. It was fun. Dana did not seem very happy, and I'm glad he put his foot down about the fucking bonuses. We're not doing no more raises. You guys don't fight any different. 7 decisions in a row, whatever. 50K is what it stands at. Give the other 150 to Patty is, I guess, what the fucking shit is like.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed by that, only in the thinking back on the BMF fight, which was a hefty bonus for Max. But look, whatever. I mean, that if that's how he feels, that's how he feels. It is another nice way to save a little bit of green, right? Um,
Yeah.
whatever. Either way, yeah, I'd say it was a pretty okay card overall. Couple of pretty solid statements being made on this card. Couple that didn't really move the needle. Not bad. I think that it was pretty all right.
Not
So
bad.
yeah, so there you go. That is UFC Manchester, UFC 304. We are running a little bit late. Let's. You want to take a quick look at next week?
Yeah, go for it. You can click the go down. I know, go
Oh,
back.
yeah.
Go back
Where
to
am I
that
going?
screen and click where it
Yeah,
says above. Yeah. There you go. And just scroll down.
yeah. That is. Oh yeah, I guess we have to talk about this one. This is UFC Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia?
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi. Yeah, there you go, Abu
Oh
Dhabi.
wait, okay. So it is different. I was thinking because the point that I was going to start off saying is like, make a note that we're in Saudi Arabia and we have women, but if it's different, then maybe they do have women normally in Abu Dhabi.
I think that Abu Dhabi might be a little bit more progressive in that regard. So
Well,
that
because
that doesn't.
I know the Saudi prince or whatever said that he wanted women next time, and I was like thinking like, dang, this is a quick turnaround if they're gonna have women in like the next month or whatever the fuck it was. But I think it is different. Saudi Arabia,
Oh yeah, oh
Abu Dhabi.
yeah. They
Yeah,
are two
not
different
not the.
places. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, yeah, Abu Dhabi. That is the United Arab Emirates, different country. So let's take a look at some of this here. Obviously, the big dog on this one, Corey Sandhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov. What do you think about this fight?
I'm super excited. I really don't know what's gonna happen. I hope what happens is not what I expect from Umar. I hope Corey figures it out and gets it done because he is kind of a sneaky guy. He can pull some stuff off, and he's very insightful and he's like willing to share that knowledge. So I think that'll work out. You know, paying it forward will work out for him.
Yeah, and I agree, Jack. This is a good card. Yeah, so I think that Umar has not had a proper fraud checking, and I don't like to use that term, but it does come up. Um, I don't think that he's faced an opponent like Corey Sandhagen. Corey Sandhagen is a seasoned veteran. He is a dude who has shown time and again that he is very, very skilled, not only in his wrestling, but especially in his wrestling. But that being said, I think that if Corey can do the mixing up style that he does, where his striking is unpredictable, if he can do that, they have fucking Umar as a -310 favorite. God,
Oh
barking
yeah,
dog over
we're
here.
making money. We're making
Yeah,
money this weekend.
bro, for real. I mean, I gotta believe that Corey Sandhagen's going to be able to figure out, especially if this is a 5-round fight. Come on, there's no way that that over the course of 5 rounds, Corey Sandhagen's not going to be able to solve this puzzle.
I'm with it, man. That's a good dog.
Yeah, that is a barking dog for real right there. Yeah, I would say that would be where my money's going. I mean, I might have a straight on Umar perhaps, just to have it going, but I'm riding with Corey on this one, and I think it's going to be a nice victory in hostile territory for him. All
All
right,
right.
so your buddy
The
Shara the
bullet's
Bullet.
back.
Now, did you see? I was gonna post it to the Discord. I didn't end up doing it. I got sidetracked. But did you see that comment that Olashechek made on some
Yes,
video or
yes,
whatever?
he's funny. He's a funny dude. I think it's just him being stupid,
I gotta
obviously,
hope so,
but
for fuck's sake.
yeah, he's a goofball though. That's
Yeah,
a
for
really
any
funny comment.
yeah for anybody who didn't see it, Mikhail Olashechek basically said that if he loses this fight, which he thinks he's going to, he's gonna quit sports altogether. So
Yep.
I gotta
You
hope
know,
that he's trolling. I gotta hope that he's joking about that one.
I I mean, if he's not, I guess he got paid, man. Hey, I got one last hoorah. I mean, I've been finished my last 2 fights. I'll go out here with a bang and fight the dude with one eye. Like,
It's a good point. I mean, and you want to talk about potentially favorable matchup for Shara, who I continue to say everyone sees something in this guy that I do not see. I don't think that he is exciting or as exciting as people make him out to be. Sure, he's got some cool kicks. I'll give him that. That's fine. I just don't see him being this world ender that everybody wants to make him out to be. And I think his last fight proved that. I think that this fight again is probably favorable matchmaking for him. Hopefully Olashechek has he's a little bit more experienced. I think that that there's potential for him to get a nice win because of that. I'd say that as a plus 205, that's also a pretty barking dog. I guess we're just gonna have to see. But I'm not super hot on Shara, so I guess call me a hater.
think about this though. You got to remember, Michael, he just knocked down Kevin Holland with a bomb. The only reason he got subbed is because it had to go to the ground. What is Shara going to do if he gets dropped because he can't see it on his right side or whatever?
Good
He ain't
point.
going to the ground and doing nothing. He's just going to, sit there in his guard and he's going to have to get let back up. Maybe Michelle might come out here. That might be a dog. I don't know. Or not Michelle, Michael. Sorry.
Yeah, Michelle. Yeah, Michelle. Mikhail, actually. My bad. Mikhail. Yeah, Mikhail Olashechek. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look. Again for plus 205. I mean, it's there are certainly worse bets to throw a little bit of long money on, but my question is, and we've talked about this a little in the past, is if Shara Magomedov continues to rack up wins, and becomes like a ranked guy, is he only gonna fight? Like, are they just gonna have to move every card over to that side of the world?
He made a statement.
Oh, what do you say?
He made a statement and said that he said that he can fight anywhere. I don't know
Okay,
if
well
that's
that's what he.
true.
I mean, yeah,
Maybe
I would say
he's
that's
just
what he
like, oh
says.
fuck it, I can fight anywhere. You know, maybe he just met on the street. Like I don't know. Like,
I mean,
but
you
yeah,
know,
he
yeah.
said something.
There's a difference between wanting to fight anywhere and being sanctioned to fight anywhere. You know, it's certainly a interesting equation there with him. But regardless, I like the fight. I would like to see Mikhail Olashechuk get a nice win, just because he's been on such a skid. You're not wrong about him, getting that knockdown on Kevin Holland. Yeah, he's got power. It's not like he's not a powerful guy. I think that this is going to be one where, yet again, the same criticism that or advice, I guess I should say, that I had for Arnold Allen. Get inside, get in there and make it dirty. Don't let him stay at range and get these crazy kicks off.
Right, one hundred
Yeah.
percent.
Yeah, we don't know if he'll be able to fight over here. He hasn't yet, and that's the question. If he gets ranked, I mean, that's a bit of a long shot, but if he does end up working his way up the rankings, I can't imagine that they're just going to be able to figure out a way to always have him fighting in the Middle East. But I don't know. Anyway, moving on. I love this fight. Chito Vera versus Davison Figueiredo.
Yeah, this one will be good. I'm lagging a bunch, so I may not be able to have an extended conversation with you at this
Oh,
point.
you're good.
But I think Figgy's gonna get this one. People are kind of high on Cheeto still, even after what we saw against Sean. But I guess that is, Sugar Sean is different. But Figgy is also a champion, ex-champion. He's got the DNA. It's hard to bet against him.
I mean, he showed amazing technical prowess with his wrestling against Cody Garbrandt. Now, Cody Garbrandt is his own animal, so to speak, but he looked really, really sharp in that fight. If he can get Cheeto down, I think it's going to be a long, tough fight for Cheeto. Yeah, and I mean, some Jack saying that he kind of lost a little faith in Cheeto. I would say that I'd agree with that. Cheeto is a very tough guy. He's a very durable guy. He's not the technically sound. He's not the hottest technical striker in the world. He's not bad. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to be somewhere in the mix, but I think that this could be a really nice statement for Davison Figueiredo, who is a minus 160 favorite in this fight on ESPN's odds. That's a little bit surprising to me. I mean, I would expect him to be a favorite. I wouldn't expect him to be minus 160. I would put that more at like a minus 120.
I get you. Yeah,
Yeah.
coin flip area. I get it.
Yeah, kind of. Because I
Still,
mean,
it's
if
still a new division for Davidson.
it certainly is, and I mean, and if Cheeto can get his striking off, then Davison hasn't been able to show that he has power in his hands at that weight yet, or just hasn't shown that. And I mean, he wasn't power striking with Cody Garbrandt, so we'll see if he has to stay out at range a little bit. We'll see if he can get some power strikes off and show what his power looks like. They say that moving up should give you a little bit more,
Yeah, absolutely.
of power ability. So we'll see. But I would expect him to have a pretty similar game plan to the one that he had against Cody. All right, moving on
For
to
sure.
moving on to Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa. I know that this one is this is one that a lot of people have their eyes on. Is this going to be the end of Tony Ferguson? Does he get a win to go out? Does he lose yet again? 8 fights down. This would be his eighth loss.
I just really can never justify a minus 725 bet on Michael Chiesa. It will never happen in my life. I don't care if Tony loses. I don't care if I lose money on Tony. I'm never betting a minus 725 on Michael Chiesa. Like, I'm not even going to entertain the idea that that's right or close.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think that really the way that these odds are stacking up on this card, this is a good card to just make a lot of straight bets for underdogs. Don't do heavy parlays. There might be one or two people that you have some heavy faith in that you can have as your constants for your parlays. But if you want to do that, but I would say, bro, just start throwing money down on some dogs and just let it ride. Just straight bets on them.
Yep. Have a good time with the dogs on this one for real.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
out.
yeah, most definitely. But yeah, I mean, this God,
Especially the next one too. What the hell?
yeah. Well, and just one last point is dear God, let this be Tony Ferguson's last fight. I pray that either way, win or lose, just please hang it up, Tony. Like this is getting hard to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, moving on to Mackenzie Dern and Lupi Godinez. I love this fight. This could be a really nice coming out party for Lupi, who I think she's coming off of a loss in her last fight, which is unfortunate because I really like her style.
To Virna.
Yeah, losing to Virna, who's now moving herself right up the ladder and right into the title equation herself. So not a bad loss, but a loss nonetheless. I think that Lupi is better than she showed in that fight, but again, she's fighting really high level competition in her fighting high level competition in Mackenzie Dern when she's high level. Mackenzie Dern is another one of these fighters that I put in the same class as Angela Hill, Anthony Smith, these people who show up in certain fights and look amazing, show up in other fights and look like absolute dog shit. So, as much as Mackenzie Dern is the hottest fighter in the world to me, I think she is the most attractive woman in MMA. I cannot, in good conscience, throw down a heavy amount of money on her. I might parlay her in one or two, but I'm riding with Lupi on this one just because of how spotty Mackenzie Dern is.
100%.
Yeah. So, all right, that's that. Elvis Brenner back on the card. I love this. He is a pretty sizable underdog against who's this? Is this Juan Alvarez? Is that his name? Joel Alvarez. My bad. Yeah, Joel Alvarez.
Joel?
Joel. Yeah. So yeah, I don't remember the last fight that did I see his last fight? Who did he? Oh, he fought Mark DeCasey. Okay, yeah. Um, I mean that's not a great win necessarily. DeCasey is a dude who is. I mean, if he is not cut already, he's in. He's definitely on his way to being cut. But a loss to Armin ages well, and then 3 victories before that. So. Not a name that I immediately remember. 20-3 though. I guess there's a reason that they're saying he's the favorite. I got to ride with Elvis Brenner though, man. I mean, I'll still go back to that one fight. He did lose his last fight, but that fight before it, where he took that crazy gash to the forehead or gash to the top of the head, and ended up winning that fight. To me, it spoke volumes. I'm yet again riding with the dog on this one. Yeah, you really are lagging, huh?
Yeah, I know. I can't hear much of what you're saying. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
no,
We'll
you're good,
finish the
bro.
main card and then we got to call it, I think,
Yeah, I
unless you
feel
want
you.
to finish it.
No, I guess that is the end of the main card. Let me see if there's any other big ones to talk about here. Yeah, Menafield versus Mirzakhanov. This Menafield needs a win on this one. I think that Chase is dealing with some weather issues up there in the great state of Ohio, so it might be taken over. So that's all right. Thinker in the driver's seat. It is the Yama channel. I can take that. But I think that Menafield needs to win this fight most definitely. Mirzakhanov 13-0. This is gonna be a tough fight for him. If Menafield loses this fight, his stock drops through the goddamn floor and into the basement. Um, uh, Yaya fighting. That's decent. He needs to win himself, I would say. He's getting up there in age, even though he's only 12-4. It's not bad. Versus who is K Fernandez? This Kawhi Fernandez. Yeah, I remember him. Also, a dude who lost to Mark DeCasey. That's not a great look. I would ride with Yaya on that one. Shamil Gaziv versus Dontel Mays. Mays is an underdog. I think that's probably a pretty decent dog as well. A lot of great underdogs on this card. This should be a victory for Gaziv, but I could see that going Mays' way. And that's pretty much about it that I would want to talk about. Oh, I guess Cedricus Dumas is fighting Dennis Tululin. Cedricus Dumas was supposed to be on a card more recently and had to get that one moved. Cedricus Dumas, the definition of a Florida man, a guy who has a lot of problems outside of the cage, not necessarily the dude who you want to I guess put a ton of stock in only for the fact that he has his personal demons, as it would seem. But a good fight with Dennis Tululin, and if that's starting the card off, then this really is a pretty goddamn good card overall. Oh, and I guess I should mention Dudakova versus Sam Hughes. That's another fight that has some good potential there.
Maybe
Sam Hughes.
Shevchenko.
Who was that?
I said baby Shevchenko. I
Oh,
shouldn't have
and
interrupted you. My bad.
no, you're good. You're good. Dudikova, yeah, yeah. I mean that is the word on the street, at least, or the way that they're trying to bill her. But Sam Hughes is another one of those chicks that just figures out a way to win when she does. Again, yet another a little bit of a candy cane going on here. But the most recent loss versus Jagari or Hagari, I believe is how she pronounces it. Not a terrible loss, and she did beat Jacqueline Amarim, whose jiu-jitsu we were touting pretty heavily not too long ago. So another kind of somewhat patchy chick, but she can get a win. I would lean towards the favorite in this one, though. Dudikova undefeated. I would suspect she stays that way. So yeah, that is the card as we see it right now. A couple of really good fights on here. A lot of good underdog potential on this one. We will, of course, come back to talk about it next Monday after that happens. Before then, myself and Chase both have our individual watch-alongs. You can hang out with myself and Vitz King over here on the Yama channel. That is at Yama Show on YouTube, Kick, Twitch, and Trovo. Thank God we are back on Twitch, rather. So that all worked out. Jack coming in on Twitch. I appreciate that. Thank you, Overlords, for letting us get back in your good graces. And Chase Parton, I know that when the lag catches up, you can tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, they can find me at youtube.com/@CPSmalls. And if you're on Twitter, at Creative Parton, Partin.
There you go. Make sure you follow my boy. I am at Yama Show on all social media as well. For these Monday streams, we always try to start at 9 o'clock when possible. If we don't start at 9 o'clock, we will start later than 9 o'clock, and I will let you know on Twitter and on Instagram. So check me out as well. Newest video is out on the channel, is actually doing really nice numbers. A couple new subscribers off of that. Thank you all very much for hanging out with us, for that as well. Appreciate you on that. If you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and check it out. Leave a comment. I promise that the next video is going to be a comedy video. I am tired of having to do all these serious subject videos on the channel. I want to get back to the comedy as soon as possible, so I'm cooking something up right now for this week. Keep a lookout for that. Until we meet again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate you. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. Enjoy the fights, and we will catch up with you in the next stream. Fight on, baby.
Insane.